Professor Jeffrey Wysotsky, Director of the CAS Media and Digital Film Production Program. We're so happy to host the videotaping tonight and the actual event for the Theatrical Stage Employees Local 1 IATSE New York Stagehands. This is Careers in the TV and Film, from lighting, grips, scenics, makeup and hair, wardrobe, and set dressing. I just want to introduce our guests. If we could give each guest a round of applause. Waltea Comer.
You got it.
Waltea is the makeup artist at Saturday Night Live. Tanya Smith, head electrician of the Kelly Clarkson Show. Manny Diaz, the house electrician for the Imperial Theater. Glynis J. Burke, Raising Canaan, she's Shop Electric, Local 52, IATSE, Stars Network. And we have our host, Frank Lizardo, the business manager for Local 1. I also just want to do a big shout out to NBC Universal for putting this together, and the Bronx Community College Workforce Development and Continuing Ed Program. The director is Madeline Centano. Round of applause. Again, if you're interested in the media and digital film production program, after the event, we have a wonderful pizza beverage reception in our prop room, and we're looking forward to meet everybody after the taping. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thanks again for having us here and hosting this. We're looking forward to a good evening tonight. You know, you just had an initial introduction, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what everybody on this panel does for a living, how they got started, some of their experiences, and you know, we just want to keep it light and fun and educational. Obviously, that's what this is all about. These individuals are experts in their crafts. They've been doing it for a long time. They know all the ins and outs. They've been on many, many productions. They know how to get started. They know how to be successful, how to deal with productions, whether it be in TV, theater, or film. So with that, I'll start with Waltea. And your first lesson will be stage left is if you were standing on the stage, which this is, that's stage left. So everybody should know that if you're going to get into theater and film and television. So Waltea, tell us a little bit about what you do. We heard you work for SNL and News Now, but give us a little bit more about how you got into this, how you started, you know, what you do on a daily basis is the most important thing.
Okay, so my career began in the Bronx. I went to a vocational high school in the South Bronx called Jane Addams Vocational High School, but it doesn't exist anymore, which is sad, but it was an amazing opportunity where I got to take cosmetology classes as well as regular high school classes and get a triple seal high school diploma. But that's where it started. I really wanted to do makeup, but I didn't know how to get there, right? Like, because it was back then. Now you see it everywhere. But when I was younger, and I won't tell you how old I am, it wasn't that accessible to anybody. It was like that, you know, that little secret that no one knew. We knew they exist, but we didn't know how to get in there. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do cosmetology. I'm going to learn how to do hair, and makeup's got to be in there, right? So that was how I got into the industry, and I just kind of forced my way in. And actually, I really just networked and made some amazing friends, and I started doing makeup at counters, and I met some lawyers and doctors, and that kind of propelled me into meeting people in television, and that's how I got into the business. But now I work for SNL, I work for MSNBC, NBC News Now, which is our streaming network. I've done movies, commercial ads. I had ads on the Jumbotron in New York City. And if you're from New York, you know, if you get an ad in Times Square, it's a proud moment.
So Tanya, we'll go to you. Tell the folks about what you do on a daily basis and some of your history.
Okay, my name is Tanya Smith. I am the head electrician at the Kelly Clarkson Show, Local 1 stagehand. I started in 1996 in theater, and I started in audio. After high school, when I graduated high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So my mom was like, well, just do something. So I said, okay, I'm going to be a bank teller. I'm going to go to bank telling school, and I'm going to learn how to be a bank teller. Yes, they do have a school for that. And that didn't work out. So I said, okay, I'm going to try phlebotomy. So I went to school to become a phlebotomist, which was taking blood, and didn't work out either. At the time, I had a roommate. She was a singer, and I spent a lot of time with her in studios. So I felt like this is what I want to do. I want to do something in the entertainment field, and maybe I go to school to be an audio engineer. So I did, and with doing that, a theater job was available for an audio engineer to do microphones for it was a dance group called the Urban Bushwomen. And because they were all women and they had a scene where they had to take all their clothes off and be mic'd, they preferred a female. And I actually had family. My uncle was working as a head at this theater. It was the New Victory Theater on 42nd Street. And said, my niece, she's in audio, she knows she could do this. And so he brought me in, and I loved working in theater. And I said, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to be here. So I stayed at that theater, and I learned so much in that theater. And that's how I began. And I just stayed in it. From 1996, I've been doing this as a stagehand. I've done props, I've done electrics, and I've done some carpentry as well. And I really do love it because it just opened my eyes to so many different things. And now I'm at the Kelly Clarkson Show, where I'm the head electrician, where I oversee the lighting, like these lights and hanging lights, and making sure all the talent looks good before they go to air. And I couldn't be happier right now where I'm at. Yeah.
All right, Manny, tell us about your lengthy experience throughout television, theater, and arenas and everything else.
Again, my name is Manny Diaz, born and raised here in the Bronx. Graduated Cardinal Hayes High School, which is not too far from here. How I got started in the business was when I stopped playing baseball and I was going to school. Frank's going to find this out right now. I have an associate's degree in education. So when I stopped playing, I didn't know what I wanted to do. A friend of mine's father was the house head at the Broadway Theater at the time, and he wanted to know if I wanted to change careers. I just didn't know. So what I decided to do was go to school at night, and I went to go work for a lighting shop during the day. The lighting shop was called Four Star Lighting, which is no longer in existence now. And from there, I started to do Broadway shows. I started to do TV, started to do corporate events. I've traveled all over the country, all over the world to do shows. As a house electrician at the Imperial, which I've been there now for 11 years. It'll be 11 years in June, but 25 years as a head of department on Broadway. So as you elevate yourself, you get the chance to go places and do other things. For me, I've been very fortunate to be able to do so many different things. Tree lighting, New Year's Eve, Times Square, Olympics. So I've, NTA Final Fours. So I've been able to go all over the world and do all these different things. So it's been, for me, it's been a blessing to do all of it and to just to intake every little piece that I've ever had to do. So,
Thanks, man. Well, now I know why Manny is so good at mentoring the younger workers that come his way. I didn't know about your associates. So. Terrific. Glynis, you want to tell?
Okay. Well, my name is Glynis Burke, and I'm from Local 52, which is a film and television union on the East Coast here. And I started similar to you a little bit in that it was the mid to late 70s. And my father, this is going way back, so my father was in the industry as well. He was a gaffer in 52, and also worked for NBC and the Army Pictorial Center doing hygiene films for the Army, or little newsreel clips and whatnot, and that was a faction back then. But anyway, he had gotten a call from someone that he knew from NBC, and they were having an interview. It's so long ago, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up what the show was, but it was an NBC show, and they needed an all-women crew because it was a sensitive topic of someone had been raped, and they were conducting the interview and they wanted all females. So that really wasn't an option at the time. I think there was one other female electrician, and so the guy over at NBC called him up and said, like, I need a female, what are we gonna do? And that kind of thing. And so then my father said to me, you wanna go to NBC and do this? And I'm like, sure, okay. And not knowing anything, and he said, don't worry about a thing. This is a light, this is a 750 stand, this is the switch, up, down, someone's gonna meet you there. And that's what happened. And I went in, I went to the 6th floor, I went to whatever floor the cage was on. And, the counterpart, another electrician showed me what to do. Just go in there, everything is all set up, and turn the light on and off. And when they wrap, turn the light off and call me, and that's it. And that was my first experience with that. And one thing led to another, and it's like 47 years later, and I started out as an electrician, on a crew of from 1 to 10 to 20 to 20 guys, being pretty much the only female for a very long time. So that had its own challenges. But then I moved up. I was a second. Then I became a gaffer and did TV shows. And then I got into the commercial world and was a gaffer on commercials, and then did tabletop photography for about 20 years. And then I moved over into Shop Electric, which is where I am today. And I'll tell you about that later.
Well, when embarking on any career, there's always two things that I like to know, what people love about it and what's the most challenging thing about their career. Those are two of the questions. So, Waltea, you want to answer? What do you love about what you do every day, and what do you find the most challenging?
What I love about what I do every day is it's so simple. I really just like making people feel pretty, and when they get in front of that camera and you see them do that little, I'd be like, yes, job done, next person, that's really what I love about what I do. And it's fun, right? Because like you're seeing all these different people that you might have saw as a kid, and now you're working with them. That's fun, but at its core, it's just really making people feel good about themselves.
And the challenging?
Oh, well, it's this thing called work-life balance where you try to, I'm old school, so back in the day, you never said no because you just never know when work was going to come again, right? But I'm blessed to be gainfully employed, so sometimes I have to say, yeah, I've worked 14 days straight. I kind of need an off day. Or you're showing up late to the birthdays because shooting ran over and the party's over and you're 5 minutes before everyone's leaving. Those are the challenges, especially when you have kids. I have 2 kids, and so it's like you try to be there for the soccer games and you try to be there for whatever dance recital my daughter might have. And I'm like, I got this amazing opportunity to shoot, this commercial with whoever, or Jimmy Fallon needs me for this special that they're doing. So it's like, I want to do these things, but I'm like, my daughter's going to be in the front of the dance recital. I'm like, so that's the challenging part for me, because as much as I love my job, my kids are the most important thing to me. And so at this phase in my life, I'm like, all right, saying no and learning how to be okay with saying no. So that's the challenge.
Tell the group a little bit about your Saturdays with SNL, what kind of day that is for you.
So it's exhausting. It is exhausting, but it is so rewarding. We're a community, because we don't get any sleep. Friday, like this past Friday, for example, I had a 15-hour day. So then I go into SNL and I work another 10-hour, the live show, 10 hours. but it's the hustle and bustle of it. It's seeing people being turned into worms and creatures with eyeballs on their backs, and making someone with beautiful long hair, wrapping it all up and putting a ball cap on them. And, that's so much fun. And this episode, we had the moms in. So, like, you get to see, I'm doing makeup on all the moms and chatting with Keenan's mom. And it's just like, oh, she acts like my mom. So it's so cool. You get all those special moments with these people that, you spend more time with than your actual families, right? So it's that community that I love about SNL in particular, because we're all like, girl, you tired? Yeah, I'm tired. They got good coffee on, around the corner. And then, so it's just that community.
Tanya, you want to tell us what you love about this industry, the entertainment industry, and what's your most challenging?
Well,
And it doesn't have to be from your current project, it could just be in general.
what I love about it is that I always really wanted to be in entertainment field doing something, and I love to see things be created, and then you get to be part of the bigger picture. Like you see people creating things, and you're part of it. You're part of lighting, or you're part of the dressing, the makeup, or anything. You see it all come together and be this great project that we put out. And just having that feeling of like, I did that, like I was part of that. And as a stagehand, I could watch something and be like, oh, you see that? You see the lighting? You see how the lights are moving? That's what I did. Like, I know nobody probably cares about that stuff, but and like I did that, and it took some time, to learn this stuff. You just don't pick it up, and just as far as, and I worked theater. I did some Broadway shows. I worked Mamma Mia. I've done that show, and I've actually worked props in theater, which is actually another thing that's great to be part of. Because in props in theater, you're like an actor backstage, because everybody has a part to play in this moving live show, and if one thing is off backstage, you could probably tell on stage. And so everybody is like this moving machine to make this thing work. And just the excitement of like, oh, someone, your cue's coming up, which is something you do. Like your cue is my turn to do the things that's needed to move on to the next part of the show. And so if like the actor could be coming off stage and you have to hand them a broom, or you have to push on a chair and not be seen, and do it in a certain amount of time and get it right, and just accomplish that. And if anything goes wrong, to be able to like fix it and nobody notice what's going on is like, yes, I did that. And that kind of stuff is so like I don't know, like motivating to keep doing great, and to keep just going back to work. And it's like, it's a good feeling. And as far as television goes, it's I have to say that doing television is great, because one, I get my weekends off, and that's for me, because in the Kelly Clarkson Show, we do 2 shows a day, and like 3 days a week we do Kelly Clarkson Show, and just going in and setting up everything. Every day is a different setup. So we have lighting that we hang lights, and we make the talent look good, and we have different music setups every day, and we just go in, set up things, and set up the lighting, and let me think, Clint. And what was the other question? I'm sorry, I'm going off.
No, that's it. No, that was great. That was terrific.
I'm rambling, but
No,
I do.
that was
I
what
do
you-
love,
what
like, you get up.
you enjoy.
Yeah, I get up every day, and you go to work, and you set up the lights, and props set up their props, and the carpentry department set up their stuff, and we're in at 8 a.m. and like sometimes we're out around 6, 7 p.m. at night, and we put on a show, and people love it. And I'm really blessed to be able to be a part of it because I've come a long way as far as all the things that, as far as the challenges that we have, that me as a Black female, and being Black was two challenges for me. Because when I came in 1996, there weren't a lot of females and not a lot of people of color at all. And you know, getting people to try to know who you are and to accept you and not always, and try to understand different people too, as myself, you know, working with predominantly men and and white men at that. It's not knowing people. It was a challenge, you know, because when people kind of snap at you, you don't know why they're snapping at you, but then you see, like, well, he snaps at him like that too, so that's just who he is. Not to take it personal. And you know, and sometimes men don't think you could handle things, like you can't carry things like they can carry. And sometimes you can't, and you don't want to be a hero and try to do it yourself just to show people like, oh, I could do what he could do. But if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's better if you both can do it the correct way. So it took a lot of that and to let guys know, like, I am a strong woman, so I can handle things just like some of those guys, because not all guys are very strong either. So, you know, and you see that too, but in their head, they're like, oh, I can handle this better than she can. And like, and a lot of times, you know, they respect you to see that you did it and don't let them, because they'll be gentlemen and they're like, oh, would you like a hand with that? And sometimes you'll get frustrated, like, I got this, but then you're like, that was nice, you know? It's conflicting sometimes, but you do, as a woman, you do have to, you know, hold your own and just show them you can do this too. And don't be discouraged, you know, because you see the playing field doesn't look like you. Just, you know, get out. If you really want to do something, just go out there and do it. That's my best advice. Just do it, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. You'll know, you know. But don't be discouraged by little things, and don't, you know. It's really hard to like hold your tongue and keep your sanity, and not explode because of little things. Because the bigger picture is actually being great and taking this as far as you can.
Well, it's clear with your position now, you never let any of that stuff get in your way as a head electrician, hiring crews, running shows. You know, you're to be commended for your perseverance.
Thank you.
Manny.
I don't like that. I don't like anything. For me, seeing the curtain go up every night on the show, the current show that's at the Imperial is called Water for Elephants. And we have a lot of acrobats on the show. And for us, especially for me, seeing that curtain go up and seeing the audience react to a live stage is just, it's mind-blowing in a way. If you can see it from the front of the stage, and I don't see shows, but to see a show from where I see it from, it's a different perspective. And to see those actors go out and give 110% every night, and the audience just gets their mind blown away, is probably the most satisfying thing for me, because you were part of putting that thing up from start to finish. Probably some of the saddest things is when a show closes for us, because sometimes you don't want a show to close, or if the show is not as great as you would hope it would have been, and it closes, you're hoping that another show goes in. A lot for me has to do with the everyday grind that we have. You know, you're off Monday. You're in Tuesday to do a show. Wednesday you're in at 8 o'clock in the morning. You have 2 shows. Thursday you have rehearsal, then you have a show. Friday you have rehearsal, you have a show. Saturday you have 2 shows. Sunday afternoon you have a show. And that's a normal schedule for a Broadway musical. So I will tell you that the same thing my wife tells everybody. My husband works nights, he works weekends, he works holidays. And they go, well, when do you guys see each other? She goes, Sunday nights and Mondays, and that's good. That's good. That's good enough. The grind of having a family in our industry is very tough. It's not easy whatsoever. We don't have kids, but we have nieces, nephews, and godkids. But the grind of our industry, where it comes from, either TV or movies or theater, it's always a grind. So prepare yourselves. You know, it's hard to say to prepare yourselves, but try to prepare yourselves in certain ways, because it comes with long hours. And no matter who you're going to be with the rest of your life, make sure that person can put up with what you do for a living, because that's a big thing for us. Satisfaction is on one end, but giving up is on another. I know many of the people that are heads or just regular stagehands that did give up their Saturdays to watch a baseball game or a recital or a graduation or the birth of their children. I've seen that also. That's an older generation of stagehand, but I've seen that also. You know, we take so much pride in what we do that sometimes I think it's to a fault, because, you know, we care, you know, and I can't say that every single person cares in this world about certain things, but when it comes to our industry and what we do, we take each and every one of us takes pride in what we put out there, and what you see as a live theater or a television show or TV or movie, and that's how we see it. Those are to wrap it for me, there are great, phenomenal things, and I love every day that I work, and the people that I meet, and it doesn't have to be stars. It's just people that I meet that are in our industry every day. But it does take a toll on you, you know. And I've been doing this now 36 years, so it does take a little bit of a toll on you. But you try to find a work-life balance. It doesn't always work, but you can try to find it, and you try to get into some kind of groove. And once you do, and hopefully you have something that's steady, that you can just, you know, you can sail and just keep going forward. You know, you're going to want to take your vacations, you want to take time off. Those all come with it, but when you first get into the business, there's a grind that the word no doesn't come out of your mouth unless you're working somewhere else. That word does not exist. And still to this day, I see a younger generation that's coming in that we had a big load, and I said, can you come in and do, I want to, but I can't because I'm working over here. I'm like, no, it's not a problem. It's okay. Years ago, that would have been a problem. It would have been a problem. If you wanted a day off, you take the week off. So that's it. You know, as every generation changes for us, I see that's getting much easier, because that head of department went through that and doesn't want to see the next person go through it. So as you see it, the cycle go through, you see those things go away. So there are goods and bads, and you can just take everything and you can just mesh it or put it all together, because it doesn't. It all wraps itself into one. How, you know, what everybody, how you want to think about it.
Terrific. Glynis.
Well said. I agree on all. I would say some of the personal benefits for me, some of the technical stuff, not getting into that right now, but it's a very good way to make a living. If you're a single person, you want to sustain yourself, you can have a nice lifestyle, and it can afford you certain things. I like the benefits of being in a union. You get a pension, there's a 401k. After a certain amount of years, you have lifetime insurance. You know, those are some of the technical aspects, the benefits of being in a union. You know, for us, we collective bargain, and so if there's something we don't like about our contract, we have a voice. You know, you can bring it forward and share that and express, you know, in the membership, express your opinion and sometimes make movement with it, you know. I think that I loved the freelance aspect of it, being a gypsy and working on a job and finishing a job and then being able to take a vacation or being free. And I was very fortunate because I always worked, you know, so I always worked. I was very grateful for that. And so there was always something around the corner, so I really didn't worry about it too much. But, you know, you work hard, people see it, and, you know, your work ethic and your habits we used to say, and people still do, if you're 15 minutes early, you're late, that kind of thing. And so there is a little bit of a cultural shift, and I agree with what you were saying about, the younger generation. You would never say no to a job, ever, never, never. And what I don't like about the business is, they own you. You are owned. And, for me right now, the gig that I'm doing the last several years, we start early. So every day I'm up at 4:10 a.m. and I'm at work by 6, and I finish when I'm done. So I'm always, if I want to have a life, I'm running gun to have a life at night, and it does catch up with you, And then, like a couple of weeks ago, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, I find out we're working Saturday. I'm like, great. I like to go to the gym. I like to do this. We're working Saturday. And that kind of thing, or we're going to do a 12 today, or we're going to do a 14. And there you are. It's just like, here I am again. So you can rest, we would always say, get tickets to a show, because rest assured you'll be working that night, no matter what. So it's also a great career. I raised 4 kids, and at that time when my kids were small, I was doing commercials. So I would be able to, this week I would work 3 days a week, and the next week I would work 5 days, and then maybe, I would have to juggle stuff with the kids and the games and all that sort of stuff. So that facilitated me working full-time all the way, through my 9th month of pregnancy. And then I went back after 8 weeks and did a lot of juggling, but it was doable. There was pressure. But I would say, in 52, I think our statistic is, 1.5, 60% end in divorce because it's a very hard business. And I happen to be married to somebody in the business, so we're both very independent, and I've seen so many marriages start great and fail because, and often, working with guys as well, there's many more females today, which is amazing, but, I would have a lot of conversations with different, work guys, work partners, and I would see these relationships break up. So that's a difficult thing. And you can see it from the female who's at home, who's like, why can't you be home at 6 o'clock, But we all know, what that is. You don't sell your soul to the devil necessarily, but it's a little bit of that.
So as we saw with all of you, the greatest challenge seems to be the hours that we put in, the days and hours, and the timing is very difficult. Tanya, we'll jump around a little bit here. Tanya, you touched on it a little bit. Can you expand on, you work in television and in theater, and a little bit of the differences, because there are hourly differences in a show like a Kelly Clarkson show versus a Broadway show.
Mm-hmm. So when I used to work at the View, they would start at 6 a.m. in the morning. And at that time, because, we don't say no to work, so I had opportunity to also work at the theater doing Mamma Mia Broadway show. And they started at 7:30 p.m. So what I would do, 6 o'clock in the morning, be at the View, and maybe finish around 2 p.m., 3 p.m. So I had all this time in between. And at the time I lived in Westchester. I'm from Harlem, but I moved up to Westchester, and so my commute to go back home wasn't easy. So I would take my time in between gigs from the TV to theater, maybe go see a movie, or sometimes I would just stay in the theater and just brush up on my craft and study more. And or some days out, we picked the most craziest places to sleep too. I don't know if you guys know what packing blankets are, but they're used to cover things so things won't get damaged. So they are pretty dirty, but sometimes they turn into beds and wherever you are. So I would sleep between, maybe take a nap, and then go do a Broadway show. And that would start at 7:30 and around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then, yeah, do it all again next day. But in that time, my only day off, and I use that term loosely because off in Broadway was Monday, but off in TV is Saturday and Sunday, which is my Broadway times to work. So my off day would actually be a half a day of work on a Monday, which would be from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I did that for, I want to say 10 years. Yeah, it was fun.
As you see, everybody has talked about how many hours they work, but they all did it with a smile on their face, and I don't think they would change it.
It was fun because you do what you love, you make money, you're able to do the things you want to do when you want to take time off. And just like she said, you can make your hours, like you can take off, even though theater is a little bit harder to take off days, but because you learn a track and it's not easy to replace yourself in theater. It's not easy both ways, but theater is a little bit harder because you will have to train somebody your whole track just in order to take a day off, and that would take like at least 6 shows of training. Like you have to train somebody just so you could take a day off. And that has to be approved. You can't just train anybody. They have to pay the person to train. So you have to get approval for somebody to train.
I think what you mean by day is one show.
Yeah, one show.
One
A show, not a whole day, because the show is 4 hours, which is great as well. So yeah, you have to go through a lot just to take one show off or 2 shows, whatever it is. But I did that for like at least 10 years, and I didn't. My friends stopped asking me to go places because I always, you got to work. I didn't ask you because I know you have to work. You have to work, and that's still to this day. I'm like, wait, I get weekends off now. I don't have to work. 'Cause they're like, oh, we just thought you had to work. And it's kind of sad when people stop asking you to go places, but they understand. And yes, like you said, I miss things with my son. I have a son. He's actually 30. He'll be 33. And he took care of himself a lot. He had babysitters, people to sit for him, but Mama was gone a lot because I was a single parent. And that's why I jumped into learning audio so fast and didn't go to college for how many of the years that I could have went. And so I just felt like I had to hurry up and get a job, which now looking back, I probably could have waited, but that's how when I started, my son. And like I said, he spent a lot of time. We spend a lot of times away from our families. We do. And that part of it is not the easy part. But now it's a balance. Like nowadays, a lot of people in our industry know that's what ends families. And we do say no now a lot more. And we take time for mental health. You need that. And you need it for your families and your friends. You just have to do that. And now that I'm in a place that I can do that, it's the balance is getting better. And the people, like I'm in charge of a crew now that I understand. I'm not like the older bosses who like punish you for taking days off. I'm like, oh, you want to take a day off, take a week off. Or, I understand like, oh, my son has a karate class on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. Do you mind if I, get out early that day? Now I know. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine, because nobody wants to be in charge of ruining families. So, yeah, and it comes back because those same employees, they treat you good and, they respect you and you have a great team. And that's the objective is to have a great team behind you because then you could put out great things and nobody's stressed out about losing their jobs. We don't want that. So, even though I've gone through it for them, I'm not going to put them through it.
So, well, I'll tell you, obviously makeup, you're up close and personal with much of the talent on a daily
Right.
basis. You had the challenges of COVID, mask wearing and things like that. But to keep it lighter, tell us about an experience, because it's got to be difficult to be
I don't know
that
if it's gonna
close
be like
when
that.
a million things are going on and you have to be in this individual's
It's definitely not going
face.
to be lighter.
And you don't have to say who it was, but you could tell an amusing story.
So COVID definitely changed so much of how we do makeup. I was never a person that liked to use my hands on people, like touch their face so much. I was always like a brush girl, a sponge girl, so that was fine. But you don't realize how much more intimate you are with people until you can't do it anymore, right? We had to wear that thick, what is the thickest mask? The N95? N95s, we had to wear a shield. We were getting tested. Oh my gosh, the gloves. And I'm like, I can't feel the makeup. I can't tell if this texture is going to be good for their skin. It was so hard. And I mean, you push through, you make it through. But you definitely felt like you were going to pass out in all that protective gear.
And we
And
get tested every day.
the
Every day.
Yes,
When I
well,
tell you, they have dug in my nose so much. Like the first couple of times, y'all remember getting the COVID test and it'd be like, to the point where we be in there just having casual conversation. I'm like, girl, ain't nothing up in there. Just go on, do what you got to do. I got to go to this show.
So any funny stories about dealing with,
Dealing
a
with COVID?
difficult, no.
Oh.
Dealing makeup on a difficult talent or person?
I won't say names, but
Right, you
there's
don't-
this one particular news person, and he's a guy, older guy. And when I was going to do his makeup for the first time, they were like, he won't talk, so don't talk to him. So I'm like, okay, I'm a talker. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. So he comes in, he does his thing, he's talking very aggressively to his assistant, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be hard for me. So I'm doing his makeup, and then all of a sudden he stops and he starts talking to me. So I'm like, why are you talking to me now? Like, what's going on? But he ended up being one of my favorite. And everyone laughs and makes fun of me because they're like, he doesn't talk to anyone. And he gets in a room and he starts cackling with you. I said, honey, I'm a little razzle dazzle. But I think that's actually one of my biggest strong points is that I can move in any kind of room and I can talk to anybody. Because I'm just, like I said, I just like to make people happy, and I'm just like, hey girl, hey, and I'm just very secure within myself. So if you are having a bad day, and I know how to leave you alone, but you won't talk to me later. But in makeup, it's so personal, right? You're in their face. This person had a bad day. Recently, I was doing someone, and Mother's Day just passed, and their mother's sick, and I'm trying. I guess you want to set, girl. She's pouring crying. And so we're their therapists, right? You hear about the old back in the day, the beauty shop. You're in the chair. You're the therapist. But it is that, you know what I mean? So much of it is how you connect with people outside of your talent, how you connect, how you build community, we all have our different departments, but we work together. If she ain't like my girl, right, I don't care how great her face look, right? So it's just that community. And when you're doing makeup, you really just have to figure out, how can I make you feel your best? And that's just how I really go at it.
Terrific.
But I don't have any issues with
No, that was great. That was great stuff.
You can't be mean to me. You know what I mean? Like,
I know I can.
I'm gonna win. You can try, but I'm gonna win.
They're trying to
So,
break you.
Manny, if you had to tell a 21-year-old Manny Diaz, starting out as a stagehand, some advice. What's the best advice? How to get started? How to approach every day that you come to work? How to, as you know, you have to deal with, whether it be production other individuals. As Tanya said, she has a crew. You have a crew that works for you.
Go find something else to do for a living.
Yes, I was gonna, I knew he was going to say
Go find
that.
something else to do for a living. No. A couple of things. One is, I will tell you this. Get your education, get your degree. That's the one thing nobody can ever take away from you. That's number one. Because God forbid if this industry went bust, which it kind of did in a way for all of us, you need to be able to fall back on something. What I would tell myself,
Well, how would you tell somebody today, even today,
well, today when
if they wanted to get started, what's the best path
when I talk to a lot
for
of
them
people
to-
now, because I get a lot of off-Broadway people that come in, or even audience members that I see walking out the door and they see us and stuff, and they ask us what we do. We tell them, I tell them, listen, if you want, go to school, because schools always have very good programs for theater, broadcast, TV, all of it. If you can do it, find a shop, prop shop, carpentry shop, sound shop, lighting shop. A lot of people get good knowledge coming out of there, and that's gonna be like a home base, and you work your way out. Because what I did was, when I worked at the shop, I met all these older production electricians. And as I kept meeting them and talking to them, then I started going out on shows with them. Started going out on corporate events with them. And as that kept going, then I became them as they started to retire. And then you build your network that way. So I would say start with school, from school, if you can get to a shop or into a studio, and try to get somebody to mentor you. Because if you can get somebody to mentor you just a little bit, or even take our apprentice test, because our apprentice test is changed. I think it's really good. But just try to get somebody to mentor you to get you started. Try to pick somebody that's good, that's likable, because it's hard. Because if you pick that wrong person and you try to go to a job and say, oh yeah, I work for this guy, and you're like, okay, thanks, and it's not gonna happen anymore. But if you can find somebody to get you to a point, and then you go from there, your name will go fast, further, quicker. I actually have a young lady that she, through her boyfriend, came to come talk to me, and she started last year in September, made her money, and she's way on her way already on her second year. I have a question for you three. 36 years I've been doing this, and I've now seen so many more women of color, just women in general in our industry, at least in the theater side of it. But I haven't done TV in so long. But how is it now more on your end, in either theater, makeup, or even the seven departments that 52 has?
Yeah. As far as how many women, or
You see it a lot more. Because I see it in theater now, and I see it, and I think it's phenomenal. And some of the best stage ends I've ever seen. But I just don't know how much more there is in TV and movies.
we had, as far as television, movies, and episodic, there's a lot of women. The ratio, the percentages are still low. We have in the property department, that's where the most females are. That's the largest department. The anomalies are the grip department and the electric department, where there's less women. But today is the first time I'm seeing a lot of women gaffers and women seconds and women crews, and even on Raising Canaan, the best gal is a grip. I mean, the best gal, best person in the grip department is a gal. So grip department, in my opinion, is the hardest to physically manage and do. Like I would always say, I may not be able to lift something the same way that you do or can as a male, who's 100 pounds more than me and works in a different way anatomically, but I can definitely complete the task in a different way. It's just that we may not do it the same way. Yeah. And it all makes sense, but more and more females, which is a great thing, that answers your question.
Unlike theater, because we have 3 departments in theater, you have props, you have carpentry, and then electrics. Sound and both video fall under electrics. So unlike 52 or the movie local, they have a lot more intricacy. They have more divisions.
We have seven departments, which is shop craft, grip, electric. We've had the medics for a few years, and we have video and we have sound. Is that 7? Yeah, so they're all separate. But if you come into 52, unlike you guys, you pick a craft and you're in it. So it's good to research where you think you want to be, you know. And for us, 52 doesn't have an apprentice program, unlike you guys, but we do have an extensive education program, and you will learn the craft if you come in, you know, through the application. There's a certain criteria, so there is a way in, and you know.
Could you elaborate on, you know, if somebody's trying to get started in 52?
Okay.
What's the best route for them to take?
So what you would do is the first part of the criteria is the residency. That if you have residency 18 months in one of the 5 states that we reside jurisdiction over, which is the East Coast except for like Philly. But that, and then there's an OSHA 30 that is recommended to take, which is you can do it online. And then there's the LIP certification, and that renews every 5 years. Once you have that, then you fill out an application. And I mean, things are kind of different right now because we had COVID, we had the strike, and some other aspects, but there's a window for filling out an application, and in that window you would file. And currently we're starting to get busy again, you know, with the strike. We were at 100% unemployment with the writers and SAG, so most people are back to work. It's still in, you know, a little bit of a shaky area. There's still some folks out of work, but that being said, we had an overhire list, and people were coming. You know, if you fill out all the info that I said and you send that into the HR, and then, you know, you give your name. If we exhaust every person, there's that possibility. But the application is the best way to go, or contact one of the heads of department, you know, reach out to the union office directly. I mean, that's how you would start. This is certainly a great avenue as well through the internship programs like RealWorks. Local 52 has a partnership with Bronx Community and through the RealWorks program, and that's been a big plus for, you know, younger members in the education field who want to learn more about the crafts.
Great. Manny, you're very active with Local 1. You know the 3 ways, you know, whether it be organizing, whether it be through the organizational list, or you mentioned the apprentice.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that, as well as the hiring hall, the open hiring hall?
So we do have a hiring hall that, unlike any other stage local in the country, which does it by seniority, we do it by a hiring hall. And if you're not working that day and you go to a hiring hall, a lot of times up there at 7. And especially in our busy season, you can be out the door 7:45 working for a day for somebody, and that day can turn into a week, especially on a load. And if you're liked, and that head knows you're doing your work, it could be a week's long thing. It could be a 3-week long thing. Same thing with a corporate event. Corporate events can take 2 days or can take 3 weeks, just depending on what they are. We're just finishing up right now our upfront season. So that's a lot of different venues with a lot of different networks that do their fall seasons. Apprenticeship program is one thing. I think it's great. If you would have worked, there's a big campaign right now with our International going after off-Broadway and off-Broadway shows to get people to realize how valuable unions are and, you know, what we bring to the table. And there are anti-union people out there, or people that just don't understand what we have or what we can offer. So I guess people sometimes misconstrue what we are and how we, what we can do for you as a younger person, so that as you get older and you go to retire, you have that sense in your head that, oh, I can leave it. I don't have to work till, but medical. I could go, and you know all these things little by little happen. I'm on that side of the table now, so I'm humble at this point. So, but you take the fact of all these things that we have, that we're sitting up here because we're a finished product of, I would say, success. If you don't mind me using that for all of us, please, of success in our industry and how far we've gotten from where we started. So it's taken the time to get there, but I think that, you know, everything that 52 does and all the movie locals do, and then how our International, who is a big umbrella for each and every one of us, whether it be stagecraft or TV movies, and how we have different things and how they just basically all mesh together to, you know, to be one giant, you know, conglomerate of power. I'll say the word, the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Well, same type of question for you, Althea. If somebody, how would they get started with 798? And what Manny was speaking about was the International, the IATSE, and then you have locals, over 300 locals that are underneath that International. Glynis is with Local 52, Manny and Tanya with Local 1, and Althea is with Local 798. So explain a little bit about how would you get started, similar to what Glynis and Manny
So the Local 798 is the union for hair, makeup, and wardrobe. So you have to have 120 days. We don't do hours, we do days, working consecutively in television, movies, whatever you can, you know, put together. Once you have that, then if you're not invited in, you have to do the application, the website, show how to make a scar, show how to age someone. But if you work a lot, like when I got in, I didn't have to do all of that scar and the website and all of that stuff because I got invited in, which was really cool, and I didn't want to have to do all that extra work. Sorry. I've been working so much, and they were like, why haven't we found you? But they have so many amazing programs. They are working with WeWorks as well. And I know a few makeup artists that I've started working with recently went through that program, and they taught them how to do all of the things in makeup, beauty, aging, period makeup. And now they're working with me at NBC, and one of them in particular that I'm really, really close with, he just got invited in himself. So I think if you can find these programs, and granted, these programs weren't always here. This is all pretty new, right? If you can get in with those, that's amazing. But even if you want to go the other way around, because I didn't get into the union until actually recently. Before I started working with NBC, I freelanced everywhere. I might have been in the building at NBC with my clients, but I wasn't working for NBC. So there's so many avenues, especially in makeup now, that you can, you know, work and get your foot in. But it's all about, you know, networking and saying hi to someone. You just never realize, like, if someone makes eye contact with you, just smiling and saying hi, they'll remember you, and they'll be like, "Oh, that you know, that girl or that guy that always smiling when I see them." And literally, that'll help you get in, because we want more people. We want more diversity. We want to see more people because when now granted, there's a lot of female makeup artists, but when you get in television, there's not a lot of black and brown representation, right? But as the tide is turning, we see more diversity in front of the camera. Now we're seeing more diversity behind the camera. And they're asking for hairstylists that can do natural hair or can do locks. They're asking for makeup artists who know how to do deeper, richer skin tones. So I think if you just really, you know, put yourself out there, you'll get it. You'll get it because we're searching for you. You know.
Great, great. And just dovetailing off that, and expanding upon your craft and having the crafts that could get you the job. Tanya, I know for years you've always tried to learn whatever the next technology, the next board, whatever's coming. You spoke about it a little bit earlier where you said the time in between the two shows you took to improve your craft, as an electrician and as in all departments. Talk a little bit about, seizing the opportunities that are there to learn the newest, greatest console or piece of equipment or whatever have you that you'll be working with to promote yourself, that you can work that piece of machinery or take that lamp apart.
Yeah. It's always good in our business to learn a craft. So if you're interested in what I do, I'm in electrics, and there's a lot of new technology that comes up that you want to stay up with. Like our union does have classes to keep you updated with all the new stuff, and I advise to take those classes. And even if you don't take classes, if you see something that's new, you look it up, you Google it, you find out what it does, how it works, how to fix it, how much it is. Like you want to just know as much as you can. And I program on lighting consoles, which is like all these lights have numbers, and you put them all in one board, and you can select which lights you want to do what. And I taught myself this by having that gap in between theater and television. I had the opportunity to have a board, and I would learn. I just taught myself how to do all that stuff, and I took that opportunity to do it. So it just led me to get better positions and people to hire me for that. Some people come into our union and they may know somebody, or they come in through somewhere, like they could come in through the union hall and they're looking for work. They're interested in our craft and being a stagehand, and they could sometimes get stuck just unloading trucks and loading trucks. And if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But if the opportunity seizes itself where you actually make friends with someone, or like Manny said, like find a person that could teach you something. You may see someone building a set, a carpenter, or you want to get into doing carpentry. Ask to learn, like what does this do? How do you work a drill, or how do you cut wood? And really get into it, because those crafts are what people look for when they're looking to hire extra people. They'll pick you first because you know how to focus a lamp, or you know how to use a tool gun, or even use a hammer the correct way. And even like if they see you, even to learning your knots, like you think it's like a knot, certain knots that you tie in theater. If someone sees you tying in television, if they see you tying a knot correctly, they're like, oh, he knows what he's doing, but they see you tying a lot of knot, which is a term that we use when you just tie a lot just so you can make it just not come apart. Then they're like, oh, I don't hire him again. Like, people look at the smallest things, or even to focus in when you're on stage and TV, when you're focusing a lamp, to just like focus on one person, and you have shutters you have to close and do tight cuts and everything on people. If you're up there and they're like, oh, give me a right shutter cut, and you're like on your left shutter cut, and you're like, okay, could you come down, please? Because this has happened to me. This has happened to me at City Center, and which is a really good stage to work on. I had to go and I had to climb. We had to climb the truss. Literally climb, like truss is like what's like maybe 40, 50
rope
feet.
ladder.
Right? You climb them and you focus lamps. Like you're holding on to a truss and you're like focusing lamps.
A-frame.
Right?
Somebody old
Yes.
A-frame, yeah.
And like it'll be a stage hand on each truss. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Stage left and right. So this is my first day, and like so I was very nervous, but I knew I came from the New Victory Theater that I could do this. I know how to focus lamps. Not fast enough, though. I went up there, and he's like telling the head electrician, "Oh, no, she has to come down." I'm like, it's the worst feeling in the world not to know. So after that day, that never happened again, because you know what I did? I was practicing just practicing how to master that skill. And it's nothing, this day and age, there's nothing you can't Google to learn how to do it correctly. And, you know, you laugh, but it's true. You learn how to do things, and whatever you see, try to pick up some type of talent, some type of skill to be a master carpenter or a master electrician, you know, or even down to the props. You know, props is a good job as well, and you need to learn how to fix props. You need to learn how to get out there, what not to do, and you know, it's just I just totally recommend learning a trade when you're in our business, because it'll take you a long way. And the more you know, the more you get hired. Because I didn't just I just go to this one job and work at this job and just stay there. I've jumped around a lot. And I jumped around. I worked in parks. I worked in hotels. I worked in theater, television, just in street general at Times Square, you know, outside in the rain. And in each job you go into, you're coming in fresh with a whole new crew. And it's kind of nerve-wracking because nobody knows what you can do. But if you can do the things you're supposed to know, then they oh, okay, she knows how to do that. Okay, she knows how to do that, and they'll kind of leave you alone. But if you don't know, everybody's a little bit nervous about you, and you're nervous about them as well. But yeah, it's a job where you jump around, and I've jumped around quite a bit. I've been doing this for, I want to say 28 years. Right, 28 years, right? Oh my God. I started when I was 5.
So you see, there's a lot of perseverance up here. You heard the challenges with the timing, you know, the challenges with your shows and the work-life balance. It's very, very difficult, but there's a lot of perseverance, and you heard some of the other difficulties that were encountered by some of these individuals up here. But that's how they've ascended to this level. They've pushed through no matter what. Keep learning. Don't stop. Keep working. You know, go here. If you don't like it here, work here. You know, get around, get out there. You know, Tanya talked about learning those skills. It's making yourself more marketable. Whatever you have to do to make yourself more marketable. If it's learning a technology, if you're a hustler, if there's something that you really like to do. We've talked a lot about the technical end of it. Glynis, I know you're involved heavily on the union side as well for many years. You know, and that's another aspect of being part of a union, is you're part of an organization. You're not just a single individual working every day. You want to talk a little bit about that and your experiences?
Well, so, you know, that's a little bit what I was referring to, you know, earlier about attending meetings. You know, you're part of a union, you want to be part of the bigger voice. And when I was, I don't even know, I'd have to go, it was so long ago, but anyway, you know, my father had said to me, why don't you run for office? There's no women up there, you know, at the time. And so at the time, and I was in my early 20s, maybe mid to later 20s, I think. And so I ran for office. I ran for the office board of trustees, and I won. And it was just like, okay, I went to art school. I graduated from Parsons, and you know, I'm an electrician / gaffer at the time. And honestly, I've been on the board of trustees ever since. And then a year and a half ago, I ran for office to be chairperson of the board of trustees, and I won. And then I also concurrently or simultaneously, with 2 other people, we started a labor assistance program for our members. So to help people with substance abuse, behavioral health, that kind of thing. So that kind of interests me with the membership. When you're around for a long time, you get to know people and see what kind of help is there and what you can improve. And I really got a lot out of, trying to contribute in my way to helping the membership, service with the union. And, it's nice to be a part of the bigger picture and have a little bit of input, to help for the next generation. I'm on my way out. And for us older folks, we want to, set the stones for the next gang coming. And you guys are the next group, so we welcome you.
Well, I think Glynis just set us on a little bit of a path of, wrapping up before we do a Q&A, to get a lot of your questions answered. But Glynis just laid it out that she enjoys this process, laying it out for the future, building it for the future, so the next one comes along, the next person comes along, the next Glynis, the next Manny, the next Tanya, the next Waltea, and just keeps making it better. You just keep leaving it better than you found it. Manny, in wrapping up this portion of it, we're still going to do a Q&A. What would you like to say to the group, as advice? And
in a retrospect, don't ever forget where you came from. That's the start of it. Where you grew up, how you can give back to your communities. Because, what we see on a stage, concerts, TV, is all a finished product of what we all do for a living. And hopefully that's what you're going to do for a living. I've been told, Frank will tell you this, I've been told many of the time by mentors and people who are retired now when I see them at functions or events or union meetings, you should work 24/7, 365 days a year to make sure my pension's still good. So that's where you're going to be at. So and good for you. So I'm happy. Don't ever forget where you come from, because every one of us has a different story, but every one of us struggled to get to where we are, and there's always going to be a struggle. Nothing's going to be handed to any of us. As we go along, we're going to find that we have our challenges, we have our greatness, and you just have to also again mesh that to make it even keel for yourselves. You get a chance to join the union, be active. Be as active as possible. Join committees, and we all have committees. We have young workers committees. We have, here he goes, ready? Mercy Protocol Committee, Safety Committee, Fire and Rescue, because that's something that we're talking about through safety. Mm-hmm. And I negotiate the Broadway contract also. I sit on that committee, which I found out the other day that we finished our contract, that I'm the longest active member on that committee.
Yep. Yes, you are. We had a couple of retirees.
Oldest?
No, the longest active. Not the oldest, but the longest
There's
active.
a couple of retirees that are still
okay.
Because I've done it longer than any of the business agents or the president.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
No, thanks.
Thank you.
So,
Go ahead, Tanya. What's your...
I wanted to say, don't get discouraged by people who say, no, we don't have work. If you're looking for work and you're good, and you're good at what you do, don't get too comfortable to think that, oh, I'm good, they'll call me back, because sometimes we don't remember, because there's so many people that can be good, and we usually like to call the one who we think is hungry and really wants this. It's not something to take lightly. And I know a lot of people who got passed over because they didn't call me and say, hey, I'm looking for work. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that person is great. How could I forget to call them? And just keep at it. Because this union it can be discouraging, because you can go months with working, but you can go sometimes months without working. It's happened to me, and it could be discouraging. And when it did happen to me and there was no work, like you said, go to school, and so you could have something to fall back on. Even if you don't want to fall back that long, at least you could do something to make ends meet until things pick back up, because they do pick back up. There's so many productions and theaters and television shows that need people And they need good people. And if you really like, especially if you're going to school for this and this is really what you want to do, then we need people like you. You know, we don't want to just give it to this person because they're getting in their mother's nerves and they need work and they just need money. We want to give it to people who actually care about doing this and, you know, putting out good product and really in their heart want to be in this union and this production, whether it's makeup and camera, audio, just props, carpentry, electricians, and you know, we're looking for good people. So just knock on doors, make phone calls, go to union halls, take the apprentice tests when they come available, and if you just keep going, you can do it. It's not something for the lazy. That's for sure. And you gotta be willing to put in the hours. You can't get around that. I know I say like, you gotta know when to say no, but in the beginning, you're gonna have to say yes a lot. Don't start that in the beginning. Wait till you get your union card and you get some skills and you can kind of settle down, then you could start saying, no, I need mental health break.
Once you have 20 years.
Yeah, that's only gonna wait 20 years. But
I still can't say no. I don't understand.
The hardest thing.
at least
hardest thing.
at least commit to 4 good years of just grinding.
Well, as you said, sometimes there's a lot of work available, and then other times there's less. So, you know, sometimes in our industry, you feel obligated to take the call because you don't know when your next call might be if you don't
Right.
have something lined up. You know, but then that also works backwards, where then you just keep working, and you never find the moment to take that time because you're just grabbing the next call. But talk to the group a little bit about
Yeah, I
how you
think
want to wrap this.
I think if you really want to be in the makeup, hair industry, you definitely have to, one, know your history of hair and makeup, because it actually is very important, because so much of the trends are trends from back then, right? You definitely have to know how to talk to people and know how to engage, because so much of it is not just how great you are, but how you can make a person feel. And you can do beautiful hair, but if the attitude and the energy isn't right, it's not going to work. And that's working with, you know, in movies and just even if you do private hair and makeup. I always, when I was younger, I would just say, if someone told me no, I'm like, I just didn't ask you in the right way to make you say yes. So it's that perseverance and that drive, like that no is just, okay, for now, but you're going to come back around and I'm going to win this battle and I'm going to, you know, so you have to have that drive. And I also think that, like everyone spoke about giving back, I've met so many people giving back to my old alma mater, my old Jane Addams School until they closed down, coming back to Bronx International High School and doing makeup. And you just never know who knows. Like the principal introduced me to a sorority sister, and that sister knew another sister that worked for Starz Network, how I met the showrunner for Power, and I started working with her. So it's just like, even when you giving back, the universe will give back to you. So I think just remembering those positive things, and it'll get you farther.
Great. So I guess, why don't we take some questions? You know, I'm sure a lot of your questions were answered, but there's always questions out there. Don't be shy. You know, there we go.
How long is the apprentice training program?
I don't think it's on.
Which one?
Oh, I think she's on.
It's yours.
Yeah, maybe I was.
You got this, or you
I
want
can
me?
hear her. Yeah.
Okay, hello. I just want to know, how long is the training?
Well, once you take the exam, if you fall within the criteria of the first, let's say 40, right? Top 40.
It's been reduced because of the number of shops have been reduced. So
So-
the last test was 25.
25. So if you're in the top 25, you can get placed in a shop, or in like the Met, the Opera House, and it's 2 years. You're there for 2 years. But a place like the Opera House is so great because you get to learn so many different things. The place is it might as well be a college campus by itself because that's how big the building doesn't look big from the outside, the Opera House, but it's huge inside. It's massive. And that's like it takes you were there for 2 years, but in those 2 years you'll get so much knowledge coming out of there that your head could explode, I would say. That's how mind-boggling it is. And I know people that either you go there and you become an apprentice or you go there just to work, and people have stayed there their whole careers because they just love being there and they love doing the opera, they love doing that. That's what they love to do. But then you can go to a sound shop and you spend 2 years there, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're on a Broadway show. You're on the road doing shows on the road. So you've taken Wicked now you're on the show Wicked and you're traveling all over the country. So there's different aspects to get to those places. But there's the apprentice way of getting into it if you take the exam, which I think we just finished the exam not too long ago. So then once we exuberate those 25 people, the test will come around again.
So I have one more question. Sure. After the 2 years of training, and what do they label you as, a mechanic or?
So basically, yeah, almost like that. So basically, your apprenticeship turns into a full card member.
You get your card after the 2 years, and as Manny said, some people stay in the location they're at. Sometimes they get opportunities elsewhere and decide, I want to spread my wings a little wider, from the shop to the road to Broadway, or from the Metropolitan Opera to Broadway or to television, And once you have your union card, it gives you a little bit more ability to do that. Again, just like all the certifications and learning all the technology that Tanya was talking about, all those little steps make you more marketable. It shows that you completed an apprenticeship at a place and you're coming out of it, not unlike an education. If the school could teach you something, then you could go anywhere and learn whatever they have to teach you. So it just opens doors for you and gives you a greater opportunity. And sometimes people stay where they are.
And the apprentice program, I went through apprentice program through ABC, and it gave me the opportunity to be in different departments. So I was able to be in the prop department, the carpentry department, and the electric department. And for The View, All My Children, and One Life to Live, those were soap operas. And I felt comfortable, and I like electrician work the most out of all of those departments. So that's what I chose to stick with. And just continue to call bosses that were in electric department for work. That's what I did. So when you come out of it, you're stagehand, but you get so many opportunities to kind of go which way you'd like to go with your local one union stagehand card.
I have a question in the back.
Hello. When does the program start at the Bronx Community College?
There's no the microphone.
What? I think Maddie can answer that
I
one
can
better.
answer that. The Local 52 training is the film production training. That should be starting up in about maybe 4 weeks or so. We're just waiting for Local 52 to finalize their contract. We already had cohort 1, and they completed last year, and many of them worked on the Netflix, some of the comedy shows, and on Law and Order for NBC. But the next round, the next cohort's coming up in a couple of weeks. So there's no limit as far as I'm concerned. So just come and see me, Workforce Development, Sage Hall. You'll find me. I'll get you in. Okay?
Also, just to piggyback on that, Local 52, I think this coming up next cohort is going to be, they'll be the prop entity, and I think they're going to pilot their first video/sound section as well. I just learned that today.
It's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Some other questions?
Hi, thanks so much for sharing all your stories. It's been great information, so thank you. I guess two things is, one, what would you think the difference is between working locally versus touring? How does that differ? And two, since you all have so much time in your industries, do you see any trends or any kind of techniques that are coming up now that you think would be worth getting behind and really investing your time in?
Technology is so advanced. You have a lighting board that I used there 20 years ago. If you put a lighting board that's in today's world, I might as well be looking at hieroglyphics because I wouldn't know it. That's how much it's turned. That board back there is keypad. It's what it is in the Centrix, and I know that. Now everything's a touch screen, and there's mapping, and there's all different sorts of things that come on boards that I go like this now, because I have no idea. Touring, on the other hand, if you can experience touring, I think it's fantastic because it gives you a chance to actually move shows from place to place. But I think in a different way in the movie world, they do that on a daily basis because they go from one set to another, and they're going from not street to street, but neighborhood to neighborhood. So they're constantly switching all the time. So on one show, they could in one
One day.
One day. But in an hour show that we're looking at, they're all over the city. And that doesn't take one day. It could take a week and a half, 2 weeks to do that. It just depends on what it is. But on like a Broadway show that's going to go to tour, if you can ever get on one of those, I think it's phenomenal to get out, to go see the world. Because you see in every different major city or even smaller city all over the country. You get to see how everybody else, I hate to say it, you get to see how everybody else lives. It's not as always, we grew up in a certain way. There's people a lot worse than we are across this country, but you get to see a lot of things. It's eye-opening. It's eye-opening.
Yeah, and you get to learn different ways that we do things in other places, and when you bring it back here, you know so many different ways of setting up, building sets, tearing sets down, which is key. Is like this is the one thing you do need to learn how to do is building things and tearing them down in a certain way, and you get to do it so much on the road. Instead of like being here, we build stuff sometimes and it sits for a couple of years, and you don't get that chance to keep doing that. And so it's great to do it, especially in the beginning. It's great to do that. And staying ahead of the technology, like he said, the boards and even the lights, and like now everything's LED. In here is it's incandescent lamps and it's warm, and but in my studio it's cold because it's a lot of LED lights, and just knowing the difference and just staying ahead of different technology, it'll make you more useful to have that knowledge and hired more, because a lot of times we don't get jobs that are staff positions, like guaranteed positions. We are mostly work for hire, freelancers. We're all freelancers. Most of us are freelancers. So just staying ahead of the technology is key, and learning how to break things down and set them up is key. So yeah.
And just to add to that, as far as technology, being part of a union and working within a union structure, most of the unions have training programs, training facilities where they're getting the input from the outside. What's the latest, greatest console, whether it be audio or video, lighting. And they get it there from the manufacturer, and they get the trainer there, and they fill those classes with individuals, because it helps unions to be able to say, we have the most trained individuals, on the EOS. We have the most trained individuals in this area or that area. And to have those it makes the union stronger, but it also makes the individuals and the group stronger to be able to go out there and capture all that work and get on those projects, because you have that knowledge. And being part of a union versus being out on your own, you can't go and get 5 days worth of training on a piece of, on a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment without it costing you a significant amount. Most of the training facilities that unions have, it's usually at no cost to you, or you outlay, and upon successful completion, you're reimbursed once you successfully complete the class. So that's another thing to, in trying to access what is the newest, greatest equipment. The unions know that because they're trying to stay ahead of the curve. And the unions have their experts that are out there working on this every day and say, hey, we better get more people trained on. This is the new hot thing. It's going to be on every show that comes into Broadway in September is going to have this automation on it, or have this console on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could I just add one thing
Sure.
to that? In our world with the 7 categories, we were just chatting about this the other day. The difference with in the electric department and the sound department, I would say technology is full speed ahead. But in the property department and the grip department, for example, technology is not parallel to the electric. You're still cutting lights, and you're still working with sandbags and setting flags and working with arms and rigging cameras. To a certain extent, prop department similar. Special effects has changed greatly. There's new ways to do so. So depending on your area of interest, there's a little bit of variation.
Yes, that goes into my question. I've been working with the grip department at Law and Order, and we do a lot of light diffusion, setting flags, and a whole bunch of technical things. But there's a software called Sora that's in the market, and a lot of studios are using it. Is there a barrier that the union has for software like that not to infiltrate the movie production
You're
side of
referring to
things?
the AI software, correct?
Right.
It's Sora, the AI software.
We haven't. I probably don't know all that much about it, but we are not training in that right now. We're extensively training in the electrical department in every other aspect, and in the video with the video walls and that kind of thing. But that we're on the cusp of that.
And just to add to that as well, you saw the strikes with the writers and the actors, and there's contracts being negotiated right now with the IA and the IATSE, and the impact of AI on the industry is being taken into consideration when doing those contracts. We were able to get away from the 2 strikes. Hopefully, the IA negotiations that are taking place on the West Coast, that'll settle it. But it's all being taken into consideration. And listen, every industry, not just ours, if you're not looking at how this can impact you, you're going to be lost. So it's get out in front of it. Like every other technology, a lot of us that have been around a long time, there was a technological revolution in equipment, like that board that's sitting in the back there, that one person could bring up a different dimmer in this studio. Many years ago, would take 2 and 3 individuals working, somebody up at a patch panel, and Manny knows this well, calling a number, put it in here. So, and now all of a sudden you could do it. So AI is just another style of technological revolution. It's going to impact certain parts of our industry. AI can't lift a flat, but can it draw a flat on, as you said, the Sora or one of those other softwares that are out there where you just say, show me 2 dogs wrestling in the snow, and it could go and do that without actually having to go to a site. That's where the challenge lies.
We only have a few minutes left. Are there any other
I thought
questions?
you had a question, Maddie. I thought you did.
Good afternoon. Great show, or whatever you call this. You guys did great speaking. And I had a question about Local 52. What do you think is the best route to take 7 departments? what do you think has the best opportunity right now? Which one is less populated? Where would you say if it was like, your aunt's or
Okay.
friend, daughter?
I would say, first off, it's really important to do what you like or what you have a passion for. And if you don't know what maybe too soon to pick a passion, until you get into it. But just to answer with some detail, like Shop Craft, that's carpentry world. We have 5,500 members, okay? 283 carpenters. We are always looking for good carpenters. We're really understaffed there. The sound department is also a smaller department. The video department is smaller. And then if you want to think about, the productions, like for example, on a TV show or on a movie, let's just say on a TV show, for example, you're doing 3 locations a day and you're shooting 3, you're prepping 3, you're wrapping 4. So there's a lot going on, and then you've got the stages running. And so in the property department, you might have 30 guys and gals on a given day. And then the next day you may drop to 15, and then the next day you push up to 25. Grip department, same thing. You've got construction grips, and you've got shooting grips, and you've got rigging grips. So that's 3 core groups that piggyback, but not necessarily 25 people, but you'll pick up when you have bigger setups, like a Friday, Saturday night. Medics, 1 on the job, okay? Sound, 1 mixer, 1 boom, and maybe 2 utility guys. And that's kind of the thing. The most flooded department is the property department, because people, the stereotype or the generic aspect is, well, I don't know what to do, I'll go into props. I can move a couch, or I can do this, or, that kind of thing. But you can be a set dresser, you could be an on-set prop, or you could be in special effects. So there's a lot of nuances to sift through. And I think it's helpful to talk to somebody. If you talk to a department head, to on the executive board, you can always reach any of us. Some of the older members to get some insight, or, hey, what do you think? We're always ready to talk and explain it a little bit better. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, great. That was great. Just a quick question. And is there a hub that you guys have in each of your departments where people could go to? I know you guys have websites, but is there something where we could communicate and we could see information, new events or new details or things that are upcoming that are going on in your unions or opportunities? Is there somewhere that we could go to and be like, okay, this is what's going on in 52, this is going on in 1, this is going on in makeup? Or is that a thing, or is that?
Well, 52 has a website, and as a non-member, you can get to the outer layers that will present to you the crafts and if you want to apply or what you need to do. And there's some Facebook pages. I mean, you could probably go online and look at IA52 Facebook pages, which are the non-official ones, and there's the film theatrical Facebook, and you could probably get in there and join that group in a generic way.
Yes. And the same for Local 1. You have the website, which is the public side, and it gives you a lot of information what's going on out there, as well as checking the Facebook sites, and a lot of them private sites you have to join, they have an administrator, and it gives you a lot of information.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Sorry.
How are you? Hello. My name is Aisha, and my question is, I actually have 2, but the first one is, during your downtime when you're not finding work, how are you able to balance your bills? Like, have anyone faced eviction or anything like that during your time, like your downtime?
I've got this one. Yes, I have. During soap operas, they had closed a lot of studios and stopped the soap operas, and like ABC, NBC, CBS, they all stopped. And I was mostly doing soap operas and I didn't have work for a while. And yes, I did go into a period where I didn't have work, and I was evicted from my place and had to move. And it wasn't easy, but like I said, I started doing something that I love to do, which was cooking. And I just started catering. Like you really do have to have something that you learn to do that you love, that just for, as you were saying, to just, what am I trying to say? Like to, just in case,
Something
something to fall back on,
on the downtime.
just in case that downtime happens, because it can get rough. It can, and it has
Especially
been.
in the beginning, it's always
Yeah.
tougher in the beginning.
Yeah.
As you build a bigger and bigger network, it's a lot of networking, and you go from this project, and you may be working a project. Say you were working for me and working alongside Glynis, and then a month from now, Glynis has a project and says, "Oh wow, I'm going to hire her. She was great on Frank's job." So that's where, and then it builds from that. So it becomes like if you were a business, it would be a client base, but instead it's a base of hiring heads of department in various departments, and it gets easier. But the beginning is always tough, like any job.
Yeah, and that was in the beginning. That was in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's also really important, to be mindful of, there's a tendency for a lot of young folks, and even older ones too, to live check to check. So, when you get going and get up and running, and it's really good to plan to have a little nest egg. That's like part of the A program, like to know that there may be a downtime. What am I going to do? Do I have 3 months rent saved up? Or we actually say 6. For the old timers, like it's good to have 6 months of something backed up in case the SH hits the fan,
Yeah.
And not only what Glynis pointed out about saving on your own for that, most of our contracts in Local 1 have an annuity contribution. So that could range anywhere from 10 to 18% of whatever you make, and it goes into an annuity. And that is intended for your retirement. That's part of, along with the pension, that's totally separate. But there are provisions in that annuity that allow you, in times of hardship, if you have an eviction notice, if you have a sick child, things like that, where you could access some of that money, because you could always get the money back into the annuity if you work for another 20 or 30 years, but to be out of your home and have your children displaced, and you have that access to that money as well. So again, it just promotes why it's better to be under a union contract rather than working a job where you're just getting a paycheck, no benefits associated with it, and it falls on you to make sure you have enough saved for a rainy day.
Yeah, that happened to a lot of us during COVID.
My last question is, as females, what would you like to see change in the industry? Because I feel like the industry, the workforce was really based around men being the head of the household. And as women, we become more and more, we are more engaged in wanting to do things on our own and, be independent. But yet the industry really hasn't changed for us as women. It's kind of like it's still a man's world out there. So how would you like to see things change, for women, since more and more women are now, are joining into this work field?
I definitely think that, the misconception is if a woman has a child, she's not going to be devoted to her job, right? And she's going to want all these days off because she has kids. And you do want days off, right? But I'm 20 years in and I'm just now taking days off. But I want it to be okay for women to feel that they can be the best mom that they can be and not be penalized for it with their jobs, and not be taken seriously, like we're not driven and we're not hungry because, hey, my kid has a doctor's appointment and I actually got to be there, So I would really love to see that be more embraced. And also there is an age thing that women deal with. I can't speak on for men, but definitely, people think you get to a certain age and you just don't, you fall apart, your talent isn't there anymore, and you can't do it anymore. And it's like, actually, my 20 years, I can teach, and I actually love teaching, but the knowledge in our age, in our years in this industry is so valuable. And I think that, women experience it a little bit more, you would say, that they think we're just too old to do it and we don't know. But it's like, no, we actually can give you this knowledge and show you how to manage way better than I think our male counterparts.
I like to see more women being hired and just trying to be in the same field. So I have the opportunity to actually hire some more women as well. And I think that men should take off more and take care of the kids sometimes too. It's healthy for them as well. It would be healthy for everybody all around, Whoever has a great opportunity should actually go for it, whether it be the man or the woman. If the woman is her time, or at the time she can make the more money, and she wants to, then let her. And if you have a partner that's willing to stay home or to do more, take on more responsibilities that you would think a woman is supposed to be doing, they should, and they could help out. But yeah, definitely more women in the workplace would be great,
Change happens slow, unfortunately. And I mean, the change is radical from when I started to now, because the only place where you would see a female was possibly, and you know what, not even, even the script supervisors were men, when I started, really, all of them, except for maybe one or two. But it is happening, but it's on a different track. It's on like the medium track as opposed to the fast track. But
thank you.
Thank
Just
you.
so you know, I'm one of 3 boys that got raised by a mother who was it's now past 2 years, but she was a retired OR nurse. When she was working, she raised 3 of us, her and my grandmother, just the both of them. And 2 retired cops, New York City police officers that are both retired, thank God, in this age, and me. So I pat myself after my mother, and so do my brothers, because the amount of work that we do and how we represent ourselves is because of her and my grandmother. So, in our industry, it's very hard, especially for women. Still to this day, I still think, and that's just me saying that. But don't ever let what we grew up or what's happened to us, deter us from wanting to be better or be great. Because you hold your own destiny in your own hands. You get knocked down, you're gonna get back up, because we don't know any better. We don't know any better but to get back up and keep moving forward.
Thanks. Well, Maddie's given us if this was the Academy Awards, they'd be playing the music now, like, to get us off. But no, thanks to everybody. Great questions. Great job by your panelists. They're leaders in the industry.